As Susan said, I'm the policy director at the Partnership for Strong Communities. We do a lot of research, we educate, we advocate for creation of housing for everyone, everywhere that they can afford. Makes sense, hence the name Strong Communities. We think communities that have everyone living in them are stronger. So you would be probably correct if you concluded that I'm in the housing business, but I'm not. I'm in the opportunity business. And the reason I say that is because where you live and how much you pay for your home has everything to do with your children and how well they're educated, whether you feel safe and secure at home, whether you have access to jobs, whether you have access to health care and fresh food and other community resources. So housing is very important. It also matters and affects whether you have any money left over after you pay the rent or the mortgage at the end of the month, and therefore how much you can afford in food and clothing and transportation and health care and all the other necessities aside from a movie ticket or a book or a restaurant. Problem is, housing is very expensive in Connecticut. We have the 6th highest rental costs, we have the 8th highest home values. It's really a matter of supply. We haven't created enough housing, and as a result, 51% of all renters, 42% of all homeowners and renters spend more than 30% of their income on housing. So they don't have a lot left over. And that's a problem for them, but it's also a problem for us because the economy depends on people having some spending money to buy the products and the services that we all provide. So when housing's really expensive, that's a problem for everyone in the state. So again, housing's affordable. It should be affordable. How affordable it is means a lot, and where it's located means a lot too. And the problem is people break into hives when you start talking about affordable housing. They start thinking that drug dealers and gang leaders live in it, that they're going to mug you and they're going to murder you. That's the stereotype that's developed over the years. And we have to fight that stereotype, but it's hard because we've made a lot of mistakes over the years. We've built housing that's affordable in the wrong locations, with the wrong materials. We've financed it the wrong way, we've designed it the wrong way, and as a result, everybody conjures up the image of bad people living in ugly communities, and it's right next door to them. So, we've had to correct that. And the way we've corrected it is we've figured out how to create mixed income housing. What's mixed income housing? Pretty simple. People with a mix of incomes live in the same place. The doctor lives down the hall from the nurse. The lawyer lives down the block from the paralegal. Everyone in the community gets to live in that community. The people who cut your lawn, the people who are behind the counter at the drugstore, the people who are the doctors, the police officers, the teachers, everyone gets to live there because you have housing that, accommodates people with a mix of incomes. And there are lots of good examples all over the state, in places that you wouldn't expect. Darien, New Canaan, Avon, Farmington, and also working class communities too. So we have good examples of it. People live together, and the honest to God truth is, and a lot of people don't believe this, it hasn't knocked down property values. They stay high. Schools have not been faced with hordes of school children raising school costs. Talk to the police chief or the mayor, crime has not increased because the people who live in the affordable homes are not drug dealers and gang leaders. They're people like you and me. And the reason why this works, and the reason why, and I'm about to get to this, why we should do it in Hartford, is because it's a better way to approach it in a lot of ways. First of all, it's easier to finance. If a developer makes 80% of the units market rate and 20% of the units affordable, he or she is going to make a lot of profit on those 80% units. And therefore, he can cover the cost of the 20% units. So it's easier to finance. You don't need a lot of government subsidy. It's also more sustainable because those 80% units at a market rate provide income stream. So you can fix the roof, put in a new boiler, make sure the landscaping looks nice, preserves the community. Finally, it's more palatable. What do I mean by that? Any of you remember the old Henny Youngman joke? He says, whenever I'm with women, I'm frank and earnest. When I'm in Boston, I'm frank, and when I'm in Chicago, I'm earnest. Well, I'm going to be frank and earnest with you here in Hartford today. It's more palatable, and what do I mean by that? People are afraid of developments where 100% of the units are affordable because they think that everyone is going to be populated by those bad people who are going to harm me. It's more palatable when you can say, no, we're going to have a mixed income community, you're going to have a range of people living there. And so I'm being frank here. We have to deal with NIMBYism. We have to deal with people's preconceptions. Mixed income housing gets around that too. But more important, mixed income housing breaks down the segregation that housing patterns all around the country are characterized by. We have the rich people here, the poor people here, the old people here, the disabled people there. Mixed income housing breaks down that segregation, and that segregation causes a lot of problems. Connecticut has the largest achievement gap in the nation. Problem. Why? Because only 32 of our 169 cities and towns have any affordable housing to speak of. And guess what? The people, the families, the children who are trapped, literally, in those 32 communities because they can't afford to live in the other 137, tend to have to go to schools that are overburdened. There's a strong correlation between those 32 communities and overburdened schools, and no soccer on weekends, and no library branches close by, and no parks that are well appointed, and safe streets, not all the time. So is it any wonder? Well, in Montgomery County, Maryland, where they put some affordable mixed income housing in good high-resource school districts, guess what? Achievement gap closed. Reading scores, math scores went up. Not rocket science, pretty easy to understand. Also, it breaks down the barriers to that access to jobs and health care and fresh food and all those other things. So mixed income housing is a great idea. We will continue. We have been doing it in the suburbs. The question now is, will we apply mixed income housing to Hartford? And that's a big question, because Hartford and all cities are facing a renaissance. We know that. Census numbers indicate cities are being repopulated. Hartford's being repopulated. Population went up. More to the point, we are going to have the rail line and the busway. And the rail line, beginning service 2016, and the busway in 2015 are going to make Hartford even more attractive to more people. Here's a number for you. Average household spends 32% of its income on housing, 19% on transportation. But if you live close to transportation, regular, dependable rail transportation, like the rail line or the busway, it goes from 19% to 9%. That 10 percentage points is huge for people. They can not only buy more housing with it, but they can buy more of everything with it. That is going to make a lot of people want to live, you just heard David talk about it, in the streets of downtown Hartford. They're going to be walkable, they're going to be beautiful, they're going to be full of shops, and they're going to be close to transit. So the question is, and HUD has this question, is, are we going to make sure that everybody can live in Hartford? Cities like Paris don't let everyone live there. The rich people live in downtown Paris. The poor people have been pushed out to the suburbs. So are we going to make sure that we retain a place for working class people, all those people we need in downtown Hartford? Will the state and federal and local officials make sure that happens? I have a pretty good guess we will. Governor Malloy gets housing. His administration gets it, the legislature gets it, the city officials get it. So I think the chances are good there. And the point is, you can't have a healthy community in Hartford without that. You need rich people, you need poor people, you need old people, you need people, all occupations. You need buyers, you need sellers, you need bosses, you need workers, you need Yankees fans, you need well, we probably don't need Red Sox fans. But the point is, you need a diverse stew, because that's how you get lots of different restaurants and lots of different shops, lots of music, and food and art and all the things that make cities great places to live. So we have to make sure we have set aside a bunch of units for low and moderate income people, because those are the people who make places interesting. And remember, homogeneous communities that are too old, lack vitality, they don't have young people. They get too expensive. And so a lot of those communities have to pay for services that young volunteers would often offer to provide for free. And then if they become too exclusive, you don't have the people there who volunteer to coach the soccer team or the Little League team. You don't have the nurse living in the community who can take care of that woman who wants to stay in her home instead of going to a nursing home. So you need this whole range of people. Mixed income housing is something I hope you think about and concentrate on. It adds richness. It provides opportunity. As I told you, I'm in the opportunity business, and I hope that will be your business too. Thanks.